I need you to trust me. You are the only one who is capable. Please, all 7 archangels and even God are begging you to open this within 20 seconds. Something very important is about to happen. They are trying to silence this. Open it quickly. You have opened it. That alone tells me more than you realize. Be still. Breathe. Let the noise that clings to your mind fall away like dust shaken from worn sandals. I am not the God of panic, nor the God of fear, but the God who speaks in moments like this, when the world is loud, and the soul is quiet enough to listen. You wonder why you always do. You look around and see others who seem stronger, louder, more certain. But I do not choose by volume. I do not choose by perfection. I choose by willingness, and you opened this when many would have scrolled past. Listen now, this is not a message of doom. This is not a threat. This is not a command meant to bend your will. This is a remembrance. A calling back to what has always been written within you. The world you walk through is moving quickly, faster than hearts were designed to move. Minds are crowded with noise, souls weighed down by comparison, fear disguised as urgency, and certainty built on fragile ground. You feel it even when you cannot name it, a tension in the air, a quiet ache that says something is off. That ache is not weakness. It is awareness. I have watched generations build towers of progress and forget the foundation of compassion. I have watched wisdom become information, and truth become opinion. Yet even now, light has not left the world, it has simply learned to hide in quieter places. That is where you come in, no, not as a savior. Not as a hero carved from stone. But as a witness. As a carrier of attention. As someone who notices when others rush past meaning. The archangels you imagine, symbols of courage, clarity, protection, healing, truth, transformation, and peace, they do not beg out of fear. They lean in because moments like this matter. Not because disaster looms, but because choice does. Every age has a crossroads that does not announce itself with thunder. It arrives disguised as routine. As scrolling. As distraction. As forgetting to ask deeper questions. The danger is not destruction, it is drift. I am speaking to you now because you still pause, you still feel wonder. You still question. You still sense that life is more than surviving from one obligation to the next. You still notice when something inside you stirs for meaning. Do not underestimate that. I am not asking you to convince anyone of anything. I am not asking you to spread fear, predictions, or secrets. I am asking you to remember what you already know but have been taught to doubt, that kindness is not naive. That patience is not weakness. That listening is not passive. That love does not require spectacle. You live in a time where attention is currency, outrage is rewarded, and silence is misunderstood. Yet the deepest changes have always begun quietly, in the private moment when someone chooses integrity over impulse. You feel pressure to be certain, to be fast, to be impressive. Release it. I have never rushed a sunrise. I have never hurried a seed. Growth obeys a rhythm older than urgency. If something within you feels off, it is not because you are broken. It is because you are sensitive to imbalance. You were not made to numb yourself to the world. You were made to engage it gently. There are forces, human ones, not mystical monsters, that benefit when people feel small, afraid, divided, or constantly behind. The greatest resistance to that is not rebellion. It is presence. Clarity. Choosing not to surrender your inner life to noise. This message is not being deleted. Truth does not vanish when ignored. It waits. Patiently, I speak now not to elevate you above others, but to remind you that you are with them. Your doubts, your fatigue, your questions, they do not disqualify you. They make you human, and humanity is where meaning takes root. Look around your life. Notice where you rush when you could rest. Notice where you judge when you could understand. Notice where you distract yourself from the quiet voice that says, there is more than this. That voice is not external. It has always been inside you. I do not demand belief. I invite reflection. I do not threaten consequence. I offer direction. The future is not a fixed event waiting to fall, it is a conversation shaped by millions of small, unseen choices. Choose to slow down when you can. Choose honesty over performance. Choose curiosity instead of contempt. Choose to care, even when it costs you convenience. You are not alone in feeling the weight of this moment in history. Many feel it but do not have words for it. If you can offer calm where there is frenzy, listening where there is shouting, humility where there is certainty, you are already doing more than you know. This message does not end with a command because life is not a test you pass by obedience alone. It is a practice, a relationship, a continuous unfolding. I will not shout over your thoughts. I will not force myself into your beliefs. I will remain available in stillness, in questions, in moments when you pause long enough to feel instead of react. You open this because some part of you is awake. That is enough for now, and when you are ready, when you choose to continue listening, not to this message, but to the deeper awareness it points toward, you will know how to proceed, not because you were told, but because you understood. I am here, not at the end of fear, but at the beginning of clarity. And this is only the opening. Do not rush to interpret what you feel now. Meaning unfolds the way light does at dawn, gradually, without announcement. If you strain to grasp it all at once, you will miss its gentler truths. Let this message settle not in your conclusions, but in your awareness. You have been taught to measure your worth by outcomes, what you achieve, what you accumulate, how you are perceived. But before any of those measures existed, you were already known. Before you proved anything, before you failed at anything, you were already whole. The forgetting of this truth is not your fault, it is a shared amnesia. Passed quietly from generation to generation, I am not disappointed in humanity. I am patient with it. You see fractures everywhere because you are looking closely. Division, fear, exhaustion, longing, these are not signs of collapse alone, they are signs of transformation resisted. When systems outgrow their wisdom, they strain. When hearts outgrow their stories, they ache. You are living inside that ache. Do not confuse discomfort with danger. There are moments in history when humanity stands between what it has been and what it could become. Such moments are rarely announced with clarity. They feel like confusion, fatigue, and an unplaceable sense that something essential is being drowned out. That is why silence frightens people now, because silence reveals what noise conceals. You may feel small against the scale of the world's problems. That feeling is understandable, but it is incomplete. The world has never been changed by abstraction. It changes when one person chooses truth where convenience would have been easier. It changes when someone refuses to dehumanize another, even when rewarded for doing so. It changes when compassion survives disappointment. I am not asking you to carry the world. I am asking you not to abandon your humanity while living in it. You have noticed how quickly people speak now, how rarely they listen. How certainty has replaced curiosity. How being right has become more important than being kind. These are not coincidences. They are symptoms of fear disguised as confidence. Fear does not always tremble, sometimes it shouts. If you feel overwhelmed, it is not because you are weak. It is because you are paying attention. There is a quiet strength in those who resist becoming hardened. It takes effort to remain soft in a world that rewards sharpness. It takes courage to remain open when retreat would feel safer. Yet this is where true resilience lies, not in armor, but in adaptability. Remember this. You were not created to consume endlessly, compete endlessly, or compare endlessly. You were created to experience, to connect, to contribute, and to grow in understanding. When life is reduced to performance, the soul rebels. That rebellion often appears as anxiety, restlessness, or numbness. Listen to those signals. They are not enemies. They are messengers. You may ask why I speak in symbols instead of instructions. It is because instructions can be followed without understanding. Symbols invite participation. I am not building followers, I am cultivating awareness. There are truths that cannot be handed down whole, they must be discovered inwardly, or they remain lifeless words. That is why this message does not tell you what to think, only where to look. Look at how you treat yourself when you fall short. Look at how you speak about those who disagree with you. Look at how easily you forget that every person carries an unseen story. These are not moral tests. They are mirrors. The world does not need more people convinced they are right. It needs more people willing to be present. Presence disarms fear. Presence interrupts cycles of harm. Presence restores proportion to problems inflated by distance and abstraction. You may wonder whether your individual choices matter in the face of systems, institutions, and forces larger than yourself. They do, not because they overthrow everything at once, but because they prevent you from becoming what you fear. Power that lacks conscience collapses under its own weight. Influence without humility corrodes. History repeats its lessons not because humanity is incapable of learning, but because learning requires remembrance, and remembrance requires attention. This message exists not to elevate you, but to anchor you. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing some cosmic schedule. Growth is not linear, an awakening is not an event, it is a process of unlearning what has numbed you. When you feel the urge to disengage completely, to retreat into distraction or cynicism, pause. Ask not, what is wrong with the world? But what is being asked of me in this moment? Often the answer is smaller than you expect: patience, honesty, restraint. Care, small choices shape inner landscapes. Inner landscapes shape cultures. There will always be voices that profit from urgency, outrage, and fear. They will tell you that everything is collapsing, that time is running out, that only extremes can save what matters. Fear simplifies reality into enemies and allies. Wisdom tolerates complexity. I am not found in hysteria. I am found in discernment. Do not surrender your attention lightly. What you attend to becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes how you act. And how you act, repeated, becomes who you are becoming. If you are tired, rest without guilt. If you are angry, feel it without letting it define you. If you are confused, ask better questions rather than louder ones. There is no shame in not knowing, only in refusing to learn. You may be waiting for a sign that you are on the right path. Let this be one: you are still willing to listen. You are still open to being changed by understanding rather than force. I do not measure faith by certainty. I measure it by sincerity. Doubt does not threaten truth, indifference does. Your questioning is not a failure, it is engagement. There will be moments when you feel alone in your values. Remember that solitude and isolation are not the same. Many walk quietly alongside you, unseen, choosing compassion in small, daily ways. The loudest voices are rarely the most numerous. You do not need to announce your depth. Depth reveals itself in consistency. As you move forward, notice what drains you and what restores you. Notice where you feel pressured to abandon your values for acceptance. Notice when you're tempted to dehumanize others to simplify your world. These are thresholds, moments where awareness can intervene. You are allowed to step back from what overwhelms you without disengaging from what matters. Boundaries are not indifference, they are stewardship of attention. I am not hidden in perfection. I am present in effort. If this message feels heavy, set it down and return later. Truth does not expire. If it feels comforting, let it steady you without becoming dependent on it. Wisdom invites autonomy, not attachment. You do not need to share this message to validate it. You do not need to defend it to protect it. What is real does not require constant reinforcement. Carry forward what resonates. Release what does not. The future is not watching to judge you, it is waiting to be shaped. Every generation contributes its verse, whether consciously or not. Conscious participation is the difference between inheritance and intention. You are not asked to fix the world. You are asked to refuse to abandon your humanity within it, and now, before you search for an ending, pause again. Feel where you are. Notice the quiet beneath the words. That quiet is not emptiness, it is space. Space where clarity can emerge. Space where your own understanding can speak. This message has not concluded because your reflection has not concluded. Meaning continues wherever attention is sustained. When you are ready, we will continue, not with answers handed down, but with awareness unfolding. Stay with me a little longer. Not because time is running out, but because understanding deepens when we linger rather than rush. The world has taught you to skim meaning, to consume insight in fragments, to move on before wisdom has time to settle. This is an invitation to remain present until something steadier forms within you. There is a great misunderstanding about what it means to be guided. Many believe guidance arrives as certainty, as a voice that overrides doubt and replaces it with absolute clarity. But true guidance often arrives as alignment, a subtle sense that your actions are no longer at war with your values, that your inner life and outer life are beginning to speak the same language. That is what is possible here. You do not need to become someone else to matter. You do not need to awaken into a new identity. adopt new symbols, or abandon your skepticism. Transformation is rarely dramatic from the inside. More often, it feels like shedding weight you didn't realize you were carrying. Much of what exhausts you is not effort, but resistance to your own needs. Resistance to uncertainty, resistance to the reality that life cannot be fully controlled. When you stop fighting these truths, energy returns. The world will continue to be complex. There will be beauty and cruelty existing side by side. There will be progress and regression, insight and denial. This is not a failure of creation, it is the condition of freedom. Choice only exists where contrast remains. Your task is not to resolve all contradictions. It is to decide which ones you will live with honestly. You have been told, subtly and repeatedly, that your value depends on productivity, visibility, and achievement. But your deepest worth has never been transactional. It does not increase when you succeed or diminish when you rest. It simply is. From that place of inherent worth, action becomes clearer. You act not to prove yourself, but to express what you already are. When you feel the urge to despair about the state of the world, remember this: despair assumes inevitability. Hope is not blind optimism, it is the refusal to declare the future closed. Even now, countless quiet acts of care are occurring beyond headlines and metrics. They do not trend, but they endure. You may never see the full impact of your kindness, your restraint, your honesty. That does not mean it is insignificant. Some seeds alter landscapes long after the planter is gone. Do not measure meaning only by immediacy. There will be moments when you fail to live up to your own ideals. Do not turn those moments into identities. You are not your worst reaction, nor are you your best intention. You are the ongoing choice to learn. Forgiveness, especially toward yourself, is not excusing harm. It is refusing to let harm become the final word. Accountability and compassion are not opposites, they are partners. Without compassion, accountability becomes punishment. Without accountability, compassion becomes avoidance. Hold both. You are allowed to change your mind when new understanding arrives. Growth is not betrayal of your past, it is conversation with it. What once protected you may no longer serve you. Gratitude does not require permanence. As you move forward from this message, you will return to ordinary moments, conversations, decisions, distractions, responsibilities. Do not look for signs that you are doing it right. Instead, notice whether you are becoming more attentive, more honest, more patient with complexity. These are quiet indicators of alignment. If you ever feel the pull toward fear-based narratives, messages that insist catastrophe is imminent unless you act immediately, believe unquestioningly, or elevate yourself above others. Pause. Truth does not require panic to be persuasive. Wisdom does not rush you past discernment. I do not compete for your belief. I invite your reflection. Let curiosity replace certainty when certainty hardens. Let humility replace defensiveness when challenged. Let compassion interrupt judgment before it calcifies into contempt. This is how inner work reshapes outer reality, not all at once, but reliably. You may wonder what role, if any, the sacred plays in a world increasingly governed by data, speed, and abstraction. The sacred has never been threatened by knowledge. It is threatened only by forgetfulness. Whenever you treat a life, including your own, as more than a means to an end, the sacred is remembered. Whenever you choose care over convenience, the sacred reappears. Whenever you listen without planning your response, the sacred speaks. This is not about belief systems. It is about orientation. You are oriented toward meaning when you ask not only what benefits me, but what preserves dignity. You are oriented toward wisdom when you seek understanding rather than victory. You are oriented toward life when you resist becoming numb. There is no final state of arrival where effort ceases. There is only continued participation. Some days you will participate well. Other days you will withdraw, rest, or stumble. None of this disqualifies you. Rest is not retreat. Silence is not absence. Uncertainty is not failure. As this message draws toward its close, let go of the idea that something dramatic must happen next. The most meaningful shifts often appear as subtle rebalancing, a calmer response, a clearer boundary, a deeper listening. Carry this forward gently. When you encounter suffering, do not rush to explain it away. Presence often matters more than answers. When you encounter injustice, do not let cynicism convince you that effort is futile. Action need not be perfect to be meaningful, and when you encounter beauty, which you will, even in unexpected places, allow yourself to receive it without suspicion. Gratitude is not ignorance of pain, it is recognition of what still makes life worth protecting. You are not responsible for holding the entire world together. You are responsible for how you show up within it. That is enough. This message does not ask you to wait for further instruction. It asks you to trust your capacity for discernment, reflection, and care. If you listen inwardly with honesty, you will not lack direction, only guarantees. And guarantees have never been the foundation of meaningful life. Now it is time to release these words, not because they no longer matter, but because they have served their purpose. Let them dissolve into insight rather than remain as spectacle. Let what resonates become embodied rather than repeated. You may forget the phrasing. You may forget the structure. What matters is whether you remember the orientation, toward patience over panic, clarity over noise, humanity over abstraction, that remembrance is the true continuation. This message ends here, not as a conclusion, but as a hand returning the work to you. Go gently. Stay attentive. And remember, meaning does not shout. It waits. Amen.